There's new cases in COVID updated in the last 9 hours. And since then, in Nueces County, 28 people have 28 new cases, 1 new death. Texas, over 700 new cases with 62 deaths. So it means 62 new deaths. Hospitalizations, since the 21st, 3276 people in ICU, 25,000 are in hospitalization, and 75.7% of people had at least 1 dose. 63% had been fully vaccinated. That's 18 million and 21.6 billion. Now, how about our local schools? Let's take a look. The daily report of, so let's see how let's see how Friday turned out. Really good. 2 active cases in the junior high, just good. 1 in elementary, 2 in ECC. This is good. We're approaching the end of the month, and we're perfect. We're really good here. Covered in the past 10 days, there's 92 people who have recovered, active cases, no new cases active, 2 active cases from junior high, as well as ECC. 17 have recovered. Highest one is 34 from the junior high. Current enrollment for them is the lowest one ever has to be from lowest one is transportation. That is probably the lowest one ever, but so just looking at this, I'd have to say Flabo is doing a great job in handling the situation, even though what they're doing is trying to what they're trying to do is make sure everyone's safe. But even though Biden said the pandemic is over, it's not over. To you, to the president, it's over, but to others like us, we have to make sure that we're safe. And I tell people all the time on the show, you've got to understand that if you're quarantine, the biggest one ever is quarantine. People just leave quarantine and say, I gotta go talk to my friends. You can talk to your friends on the phone. Yeah, if you talk to your friends on the phone, then you're quarantined. That's how it is. That's safest ever. It's the safest one ever. So I don't know why people are saying I'm not gonna leave quarantine. So I want to go to work, but I'm COVID. What can I do? Stay where you are. So what really needs to happen here is that what we need is make sure that everyone knows what they're doing. Like I say all the time, what you need to do is follow these tips. Like always. Like I've always said before, what we need to do is making sure that everyone is wearing their masks at all times. And hand washing. That's the biggest one ever. You need to hand wash. It only takes 20 seconds. And you're complaining like, I don't want to waste 20 seconds of my time through a sink. You want to waste your time at the sink? Well, let me tell you. if you don't wash your hands, then you're spreading germs. Germs can make you sick. So water, 20 seconds, 110 degrees. Transportation, same thing. Sanitization of the hands. Disinfect your area. If you're quarantined, do not leave quarantine. Stay in your area. If you have a medical condition or your child's exempt. Now the CDC is making an ease. So, yeah. And also, what I recommend to have a vaccine you get is the Pfizer vaccine. It works best. If you're twice vaccinated, you're probably good. If you need to get boosted, it's your choice. Talk to your doctor. If you have a question about the side effects, you and your child, you can talk to your doctor, or you can ask people at the pharmacy, and they'll let you know what the side effects are. Whether it's for 1 dose, 2 dose, or the extra dose. I don't know. Well, coming up next, how would you feel if you were out of court and found out that the teacher that was fired got settled with $90,000? We're going to tell you about that article, as well as other students who refused to stand during the Pledge of Allegiance from Young Turks, and from news articles. Stay with us. Up front tonight, not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. It's an issue going on. It's an issue going on every day in the schools. Now, remember back in the 1940s, the Supreme Court ruled that students have a right not to stand for the pledge, not to salute for the flag. And back then, during those times, if you didn't salute the flag, you could be suspended. But here's why students don't have to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, according to an article from CNN back in 2019. It's recited in schools across the U.S. every day by students standing swiftly with their hands over their hearts. The Pledge of Allegiance has been a part of American life since 1892, when it was first repealed in a magazine to the comments of the 400th anniversary of the voyage of Christopher Columbus from America. But the patriotic oath, despite its ubiquity, is not a legal requirement. Students don't have to recite it. The pledge was played headlines this week after a 6th grade student in Florida told a subject teacher he would not stand for the pledge because he believed the American flag was symbolized discrimination against blacks. He was arrested. Although police say it was because he started a disturbance at the school, not because he wanted to participate in the pledge. There are some people from the Young Turks who have their opinions about this, and we're going to share that opinion with you right now. This happened back in 2017, where a teacher forced a student to write the Pledge of Allegiance. And what happened? She stood up for constitutional rights, and this happened in Texas. Take a look.
Yesterday, a teacher in Texas was forced to pay a massive amount of money to a former student, $90,000, because he forced the student to write down the Pledge of Allegiance at threat of getting a 0 grade in a class. Now, this happened back in 2017, and we want to catch you up on what led to this incident. So, Mary Oliver had for years refused to recite the Pledge of Allegiance at her Texas high school. Then in her senior year, her teacher gave the class an assignment. She and the other students would have to write the pledge. Those who didn't would get a 0. This is according to sociology teacher Benji Arnold. According to a federal lawsuit Oliver filed against him. This is a sociology class, just bear that in mind. Then he compared people who refused to recite the pledge, quote, to Soviet communists, members of the Islamic faith seeking to impose Sharia law, and those who condone pedophilia. Which in 2017 was probably a crazy set of things to accuse people as being. Now it's just any random show on Fox News. They talk about those 3 groups of people. So Oliver did not recite or write the pledge. Instead, the 12th grader drew what was described as a squiggly line and turned it in. She claims that, as promised, Arnold gave her a 0, something he has disputed. But
sorry about that. Got cut off by ads. Here we go.
Arnold went on an extended tirade, offering to pay for students to move to Europe if they didn't like living in America, but they would have to pay him back double if they ever returned to the U.S. And so, look, there's more to this, but you get the idea of who this teacher is. And the teacher apparently had thoughts about American politics and American society and wanted the students to conform and is now paying the price for it. The price is $90,000.
Right. So first of all, I want to be clear. Of course, he's not paying for it. No one who ever does anything wrong ever pays for it. Like if you didn't do something wrong and you got screwed, then you'll pay for it. Okay, that's general rule of law here. It's a risk pool funded by the school district across the state that's paying for it. Yeah. But now let me get into the heart of the story. So, okay, she doesn't want to say the pledge. It's her constitutional right not to say the pledge. But I get it. It's Texas. And in Texas, they don't really believe in the Constitution too much. And then they'll go around being like, oh, we're real Americans, man. Real Americans don't believe in the American Constitution. Real Americans force speech on top of other people and then make it their whole campaign theme to do free speech. Free speech except for you, little girl. Okay? You have to say what I say, otherwise you get a 0, okay? So, all right, that's all standard fare for right-wingers. But do we really live in this country? I mean, I know we're in 2 different planets, because if somebody says to my kid, you're not reciting the pledge, that makes you like ISIS and communist and a pedophile, we're going to have a lot of issues. And that school district's going to have a ton of issues. Now, the lawsuit charges, and they won, that it was the students and the teachers who were bullying the student. The bullying was so bad, she had to step out from school for a long time, and then she came back in and they started bullying her again. See, here in free America, right, we're in Los Angeles, that would not be tolerated. That would be an outrage. All the parents would be livid, right? In Texas, they're like, oh, you're bullying a poor girl because she exercised her free speech rights and her constitutional rights? Attaboy! Oh, you called her a pedophile. Yeah! In free America, that guy would be fired instantly. You can't bully kids. You can't say insane stuff like that to your students. But in Texas, never fired, no consequences. And the administration had glowing things to say about him, the lunatic that he is.
Exactly.
I'm glad, but this again, these need to be changed. Let's take it to the next clip from the Young Turks, to where his teacher punishes the student for not standing during the Pledge of Allegiance. And these are people, these folks out here have like a lot of articles. I mean, I really love this channel.
A California teen refuses to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. In fact, she alleges that she stopped standing for the Pledge of Allegiance a long time ago as a Native American student because her parents taught her about her Native American history. Well, because of what's been happening with Colin Kaepernick protesting by not standing during the national anthem, all of a sudden teachers are noticing this student. Her name is Leilani Thomas, and she goes to Lower Lake High School. And apparently a teacher noticed that she wasn't standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and docked a few points from her participation grade. Now, this made headlines, and it got to the superintendent, and the superintendent has responded. But first, let me tell you what Leilani Thomas says. She, meaning the teacher, told me I was being disrespectful, and I was pretty mad. She was being disrespectful to me also, saying I was making bad choices, and I don't have the choice to sit during the pledge. Now, the superintendent weighed in on this and said, no. She has all the right in the world to not stand during the Pledge of Allegiance. She has the rights to, protest it or make whatever political statement she feels is appropriate, which I agree with. But what's interesting is how much our schools go out of their way to ensure that kids don't question authority and don't think for themselves. Don't be a critical thinker, because if you offend anyone or if you're considered disrespectful, then we're going to cut a few points from your grade.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ironies here. First of all, we're really talking about disrespectful. You're saying a Native American must pledge allegiance to the American flag. I mean, you're in a school. Have you read any history? Like, look, I love the country, and I want to there's been great parts of the country, terrible parts of our history,
And I'd like to get beyond all that. And so I love America, and I stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. But if a Native American says, hey, given what's happened, I'd rather sit this one out, I get it. I mean, if you don't get that, you got an issue. And so, in fact, I'd find it a little disrespectful to say, no! Remember that flag that rode, roughshod over your ancestors and killed them and butchered them and then reneged on every deal we ever made with them? Make sure you salute that flag.
We'll hear more from Young Turks when we come back. Stay with us. There are now new warning signs from Ethan Crumley that before he starts shooting up the school. According to ABC News, new evidence uncovered during the discovery of Ethan Crumley allegedly shows that Oxford high school teachers and school officials failed to respond to warning signs exhibited by the accused school shooter in the months leading up to the November 2021 shooting. Attorney Van Johnson represents the victims and their families in a lawsuit to reporters on Thursday. Evidence was allegedly uncovered by several lawsuits against the school. School officials, the school district, Crumley and his parents have been filed. At least 8 lawsuits have happened. Attorneys for the Oxford Community School District now immediately respond to ABC News for comment. Now, the attorney. Attorney has 4 signs in Oxford shooting case shows student was troubled. The attorney representing families of 4 students slain and several others wounded in the November shooting said Thursday that the alleged 14-year-old shooter did show troubling signs that were noted to school officials. One instance, who's faced multiple charges, carries a life in prison, drew a self-portrait of a note card for a class assignment. The teacher said later damage from magazine can be fired with bullets. The other example, a Spanish teacher emailed Crumley's counsel to report that the sophomore had written an autobiographical poem that said he feels terrible and his family is a mistake. During an hour-and-a-half press conference, Johnson revealed 4 new red flags derived from depositions with 6 Oxford high school officials that they believe could have prevented the tragedy had a corrective action taken place. That's the note card, the poem, the emails to the counselor, and the violent survey answers. Now, this is the new one. In the survey, Crumley listed his favorite book as Resistance and Making Bombs for Hitler. His 2 favorite television shows are Dexter and Breaking Bad. Dexter is a TV show about police with Frank Sinatra who leads a double life as a vigilante. Breaking Bad is a violent show about a high school chemistry teacher and a buddy who turned to a life of crime, producing and distributing crystal meth. Now we know what happened to that survey, so okay. What about Uvalde? Well, today is going to mark the months during. It's going to mark 4 months since the Uvalde shooting. DPS officers Uvalde school shooting have been under investigation since July. Records confirmed. So, the acting chief on the day of the shooting, LT Mario Ponges, who was placed on leave after the house party was released. So that's the update from Uvalde, and I'm going to be excited. We'll have the half-hour special about 4 months in Uvalde. We'll give you some updates. When we come back, we're going to hear more from the Young Turks. Stay with us. We're talking about students who refuse to stand during the Pledge of Allegiance, and the Young Turks give some really good opinions. Watch this.
That's a little disrespectful. And besides which, again, the more important point is you're missing the point of the country. Look at the positive things about that flag. Is our Constitution, our ideals, and what we stand for, which is freedom. And the freedom to express yourself in any way you like, including sitting for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right, exactly. And I think the most important thing to take away from it is understanding that no progress in the country came from people refusing to challenge authority. Right? I mean, anytime you've had progress, it's because people questioned authority, they challenged authority, and they demanded better of the country and the people that represent us. we should educate young people to be like that. We shouldn't educate them to shut their mouths and follow all the orders and all the rules. I know that a lot of adults and educators want that because it makes their jobs a lot easier. I mean, that's how you discipline kids. But at the same time, when you see someone trying to make a political statement at a school, try to nurture that conversation and that dialogue. Like, I would utilize that as an opportunity to do a lesson on the Pledge of Allegiance, where it comes from, why does this Native American student feel this way? I mean, maybe that's like a hippie stance, but I think it's a good educational opportunity.
It's not a hippie stance. It's the stance of an educator where we actually talk about the issues and learn from it.
Right.
But instead, well, what are we doing? She's been sitting since second grade, but because of Kaepernick, there's a hysteria.
I know.
Like, oh my God, find out all the sinners. Who's sitting? Okay, the sinners hit the fan. Okay, let's all make sure we're going on a warpath, ironic, and go get these people.
Yeah.
Just calm down. Let her voice her opinion, in this case, by not voicing her opinion and just sitting.
Yes.
Become a TYT.
Yes. Yes, exactly. That's what needs to happen here. No one's letting the students voice their own opinions. That's why, I mean, I'm all for siding with schools taking away free speech. But when people take away free speech, they're violating constitutional rights. So, now, it doesn't stop there. This female student...
American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning.
This student was arrested for not saying during the Pledge of Allegiance, but it wasn't. But she wasted the police time.
Yeah, there was some point where I probably didn't stand for the pledge for God knows why. Because I was a rebellious kid. And
An 11-year-old in Tampa, Florida, had been arrested for refusing to stand during the Pledge of Allegiance. This is a sixth grader in a Tampa suburb, and apparently the sixth grader from the suburb allegedly told the substitute teacher the flag is racist and the national anthem is offensive to black people. So he refused to stand. At that point, he gets into a verbal dispute with the substitute teacher. Her name is Anna Alvarez. And in response, the teacher said she asked the student, why not go to another place to live if it was so bad here? She said that he answered, they brought me here.
By the way, that is an amazing answer for an 11-year-old.
Right.
It's like, I don't know, they brought me here, man. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. It's a great answer.
The substitute teacher responded with, well, you can always go back because I came here from Cuba, and the day I feel I'm not welcome here anymore, I would find another place to live.
Total lie. Really? You're going to go back to Cuba? No, you're not. No way. Sounds like an obvious right-winger. I'm sure despises the government of Cuba. The idea that she'd go back to Cuba is laughable.
Well, to be fair, she says I'd find another place to live. She didn't specifically say Cuba.
Where are you going to go? Canada?
No,
okay.
I know. Look,
more left wing.
Look, first, before we go further with this story, let me be clear about something. The Supreme Court has ruled on whether or not students can be punished in any way for refusing to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sure you would all be shocked to find that it's wrong and it's considered unconstitutional for teachers or administrators or staff to punish a student for refusing to stand, because this is protected speech. I mean, this is the most obvious thing in the world. So you want to know why Alvarez, the substitute teacher, called the police? And she admits this. Alvarez said she called the police because she did not want to keep dealing with him. Okay, Let's stop right there. So she doesn't want to deal with him, so she wastes the police's time, by calling them and having them show up. Okay, they come and they show up, and this 11th grader gets upset. And so he starts talking back to the cops, which, as we've talked about on the show multiple times, the worst thing you can do is disrespect a police officer by talking back to him or her. And so what did the cops do? They arrested an 11-year-old. And what was he charged with? Resisting an officer without violence.
And disrupting a school function. But wait a minute. If it's okay to not stand for the flag and the teacher goes ballistic over it, not the kid didn't do anything. He's always not stood for the flag, right? A substitute teacher comes in, causes a ruckus, and they go, okay, no, technically we're not arresting you for not standing for the flag, wink. By the way, it's not only unconstitutional, it's also against Florida law specifically, and against the policy of that district. So for 3 different reasons. They have no right to disturb him. They go cause the problem in the first place. And when the kid goes, well, no, I don't want to leave the class. I have every right to stay in the class. They're like, how dare you? But wait a minute, I'm in the right, you're in the wrong. They're like, are you resisting arrest? But wait a minute, I'm being arrested? Well, I guess I object to being arrested. That's it, that's resisting arrest without violence. What? How? Well, what are you supposed to do when somebody is a teacher verbally accosts you in a way that is completely wrong against policy, against law, and against the Constitution?
So yeah, they violated the policy, the Constitution, and this and that. Now this is like one of my favorites. A teacher snatches the kid for refusing to stand during the Pledge of Allegiance. And it's like it's probably one of my favorites from the Young Turks, and they had their own, and they got great opinions about this. Let's take a look.
A Michigan teacher has been suspended following an incident where he allegedly violently snatched a 6th grade student from his chair after he refused to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. According to reports, the 6th grader, Stone Chaney, was sitting in his homeroom class at East Middle School. This is in Michigan, Farmingham Hills. In his first week at the school, when he was grabbed from behind by this teacher, the teacher consultant comes up behind me and snatches me out of my chair violently. I was so confused, I didn't know what was going on. That was a statement from Stone Chaney himself. And so this is kind of crazy. Like, teachers shouldn't put their hands on students, period.
Here's what would have been like. A little role play here. Students, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence and announcements. You're in the hallway, stop where you are. Let's begin. And the teacher goes to look around. Stand up. No. 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 Okay. You leave me no choice. Hey. See what happened right there? That's snatching the kid, putting your hands on the teacher. Ma'am, you're suspended.
But apparently this teacher was a former member of the military. He's a vet. He did release a statement about this, and here's what he had to say. His name is Steven Stevens. That's his name, Steven Stevens. Okay. Anyway, that's all.
It's kind of a fun name, actually, for a story.
Yeah. He says, I would love to be able to talk to them and, try to get their side and try to explain my side. So maybe we can come to an understanding, because I understand that they have the right to do that, meaning the right to not stand during the Pledge of Allegiance. But I don't believe that they understand what that right really entails. But here's the thing. Even though Stone Chaney is just a 6th grader to some, he has thought this through. He never stands for the Pledge of Allegiance because, as he says, I don't stand because I don't pledge to a flag. I pledge to God and family.
Oh, damn. Ooh, you snatched up the wrong person.
Man, plot twist.
So, but isn't that funny? Because if you're a thoughtful progressive and you're not standing for the pledge because you think that... and you might love the country, but you think that kind of patriotism is misguided because it can lead to jingoism, whatever it is that your reason behind it, or you want to improve the country and you're making a point like Kaepernick and the others have done in the NFL. People are like, oh yeah, they had it coming, right? But if it turns out the kid was doing it for religious reasons, oh, sorry, oh, I didn't know that, because that's okay. Yeah, being progressive and thoughtful is not okay.
Absolutely.
But being religious is awesome. So my bad, I got the wrong kid. I meant to commit violence against someone else.
What I want to know is when I always pay attention to people's words, because he said they. If I could only get them and they. Who is they? Are you talking about black people? Because Colin Kaepernick is not standing for the flag when a bunch.
Okay, let's move on here. One of my favorites. Last season,
helped nourish over 100,000 kids last year.
Last season, when I changed it, they cut me a break. A school
Are we supposed to be on their side?
A school in New York to say, "Hey, foreign language week. Let's pick a pledge." Here's what this guy had to say.
School in New York decided, hey, you know what? We have Foreign Language Week. So let's pick a language and let's read the Pledge of Allegiance in that language. It happened to be in Arabic, and what happened? Everybody's heads exploded. Oh my God, what are you doing? How could you speak Arabic in an American school? It's Foreign Language Week. So what if they had read it in Chinese? What would happen? Like, oh my God, you let Red China take over. This is New York. What's wrong with you? Oh, the Russians are going to take over if you say it in Russian? No, you're pledging allegiance. Like, for example, if they were actually Arabs, and they're not, they're kids who were learning foreign languages, and they said the American Pledge of Allegiance, wouldn't that be a good thing? We went to go liberate Iraq, didn't we? Aren't we supposed to be on their side? What a joke. You just hate Arabs. So the whole school is up in arms. The parents are up in arms. School Superintendent Joan Carbone received complaints from military and Jewish families. What? Hey, knuckleheads, the ones in the military. You went to liberate Iraq. You went to liberate Afghanistan. They speak Arabic in Iraq. In Afghanistan, they have many different languages. In Iraq, there are other languages, but predominantly Arabic. You don't like those people. You didn't want to liberate them. You wanted to kill them. So when you come back, you're, how dare they speak Arabic? In New York, you ought to be you ought to be embarrassed no matter where you are. And Jewish families, what's wrong with you? The ones that complained here. I mean, who would complain if they did it in Yiddish or Hebrew? Why would you complain? What's wrong with that? That's celebrating our diversity. Why are you complaining when they're doing it in Arabic? Why? Are you opposed to all Arabs? I mean, you're throwing yourself under the bus. You're embarrassing yourself. Look at what you're doing. So, okay, now written note got put on a car shield, on the windshield of a car for one of the people that are the administrators in the school. It said, "We live in America. Speak English." And what happened? They caved. They caved. You got these insane threats, and you're going to buckle to that? Of course they are. So here's Principal Aaron Hopmeyer. He says, "We sincerely apologize for having the Pledge of Allegiance recited this morning in the high school in a language other than English." You think we would have had the same trouble if they recited it in French? I don't think so. You think they would have the same trouble if they did, I mean, you name any other language. German, Spanish. Maybe in some areas of the country, if you did it in Spanish, you might get the same, well, we're in America, you speak English here, right? That's very possible. But notice they only complain about languages that they don't like. It's really grotesque. Finally, Carbone told the paper that the gesture was something that was supposed to be good, but turned out not to be. Yeah, that's right. You were trying to do a good and decent thing, teach kids foreign languages, openness to other ideas, diversity, all these wonderful things, right? And instead, what happened? The community rose up in its anger, fear, and hatred and crushed it. You must be so proud. What a great irony that they're doing this in regards to the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America, whose whole point is supposed to be that everyone is equal.
We're all equal. We are American. We are different, but we're different, but we live in the same country. Now I was gonna show you that video of when this student sued that person at the school, but we're gonna do that for you tomorrow. And on future references, we may talk about the Young Turks and school-related issues. Like, for example, if we talk about clear backpacks, we may play a clip from Young Turks. If schools tracking how long they're in the bathroom, or schools banning Bibles, we may talk about that. Actually, this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow on Saturday. We're going to talk about the Texas school bans Bibles. Should schools digitally track how long kids are in the bathroom? And the 4th anniversary of Uvalde. All that's on Give Me a Break Saturday night. That's Give Me a Break for this Friday. going to Saturday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Saturday night. For all of us here at Give Me a Break and YouTube. Good night, everyone.